I hit the test functions, then the ATC, then the Atcrbs menu. There's a generic test for Atcrbs, but also specific tests for a Class A or a Class B Atcrbs transponder. They all work exactly the same, so I'm going to use the generic one. The only differences between them are the power limits under FAR 43 Appendix F. The generic one is the most common, so I'm going to show you that one. So open up the generic test page. We get our warning. Please be aware of transponder testing effects on ATC and local aircraft. Whenever we're testing transponders, we need to be very careful to make sure that our activities during testing do not affect local air traffic control or other aircraft. So please take the necessary precautions to make sure that the radiations are limited from the interrogation and reply of the aircraft. It's also very safe practice to inform local ATC that you are doing transponder tests. Okay, so we can cancel out of that. As with all our tests, if we go to the config in the bottom left, it gives us our port selection, whether we're going to test over the antenna or over a cable connection. In this case, it's set to antenna. If we're using an external attenuator between the ARTS test box and the antenna, that is the test antenna. In this case, we're not. The diversity test is for doing a dual installation with the top and bottom antenna. Power limit is set to FAR 43. You can change the power limits if you want. Most people work to FAR 43 Appendix F. Power ERP, is it measured in watts or dBm? Most people stick with dBm, but some aircraft tests are in watts. Now, importantly, whenever we're doing a transponder test, we need to set up the antenna carefully. So the transponder antenna is set up on its tripod, normally placed on the ground. We need to tell the test set, are we pointing at the top antenna or the bottom antenna? Very simple. In this case, I'm going to do the bottom. We need to tell the test set the distance from the ARTS-7000 test antenna and the aircraft antenna for both the top and the bottom antennas. This is measured in feet and it's an approximation. It doesn't have to be accurate, but the more accuracy you have, the better power accuracy you will receive in the test. So in this case, the antenna range top 25 feet. The antenna range bottom is 3 feet. Again, this is the horizontal distance between the aircraft antenna and the ARTS test set antenna. We have to do the same thing for antenna height for both the top and the bottom. If I change the top height to, let's say, 15 feet and the bottom antenna to 3 feet. So we've told the ARTS, we've stored the values relevant to where we've positioned the antenna. If we move the antenna, we must check these values and re-enter them if they've changed. Antenna cable length. The ARTS test box needs to know which cable you're using between the ARTS connector on the top surface of the test box and the antenna. This is to calculate the losses accurately and again will affect the power value. All you need to do is choose which cable you're using. So in this case, it's set at the 12 foot. I'm going to use the 30-foot cable. Same thing for direct connection. If we're connecting directly to a radio, we still need to tell the ARTS what cable we are using. In most cases, it will be the 6-foot cable. So that's the configuration of the Atcrbs test. Exit out of here. Once the antenna is set up correctly, it's very simple. All we do, hit the start test. Now, as the test is running, you will see the LEDs on the top panel of the ARTS flashing to show that there is an interrogation and reply happening. So for an Atcrbs, once we receive the information, we can display the receiver frequency, the ERP, the mode A code, the level of the transponder, the percentage of replies, the minimum trigger level, and the mode C altitude. If anything shows as a red box, it's a failure. Anything with a green box is a pass. If it shows NCD, it has not received that parameter. At any time you can hit the list test. This just gives a little bit more information. So this is the background between the Atcrbs test. If I look at the power test, this is now looking at the values of the top antenna or the bottom antenna for Atcrbs and Mode S if it's available. This will show us the transmitted power of the Atcrbs signal from the top and then the bottom antenna as you are doing the testing. If I look at the Mode C replies and characteristics, this is the details of the Mode C portion of the Atcrbs test. It's broken down into a number of different values. Again, anything red is a failure, anything green is a pass. So back to Atcrbs test list and back to the main menu. Hit the stop test. Every time you test an Atcrbs, ADS-B or a Mode S transponder, the entire test is saved by a time date stamp that you can look at through the main menu. In fact, I'll take you to that. So I'm going to exit out of here. I'm going to go back to the ATC menu, back one more time to the functions menu, and back to the main menu. I mentioned about the saving of results. If you look at the utilities, there's a records page. Now this one is empty, but this records page will show all the details of the test carried out that are stored in the tablet. Very important for Atcrbs, ADS-B and Mode S. And then exit back to the main menu.